Hi again, guys. Today we're going to be reading part two of Shells that we started. Just a quick recap on Shells. So far, we have learned that Michael had his parents actually passed away, and he is living with his Aunt Esther because nobody else wanted him. He showed up with a new pet in tow. We are actually going to be reading page 7 again as a quick recap and then moving on to the next page. I hope you enjoy.
Michael hadn't made any friends at his new school, and his teachers barely noticed him. He came home alone every day and usually found Esther on the phone. She kept in close touch with several other women in nearby condominiums. Esther told her friends she didn't understand Michael. She said she knew he must grieve for his parents, but why punish her? She said she thought she might send him away if he couldn't be nicer. She said she didn't deserve this. But when Michael came in the door, she always quickly changed the subject. One day after school, Michael came home with a hermit crab. He had gone into a pet store looking for some small living thing, and hermit crabs were selling for just a few dollars. He bought one and a bowl. Esther, for a change, was not on the phone when he arrived home. She was having tea in a crescent roll and seemed cheerful. Michael wanted badly to show someone what he had bought, so he showed her. Esther surprised him. She picked up the shell and poked the long, shiny nail of her little finger at the crab's claws. "Where is he?" she asked. Michael showed her the crab's eyes peering through the small opening of the shell. "Well, for heaven's sake, come out of there," she said to the crab, and she turned the shell upside down and shook it. "Aunt Esther!" Michael grabbed for the shell. "All right, all right." She turned it right side up. "Well," she said, "what does he do?" Michael grinned and shrugged his shoulders. "I don't know," he answered. "Just grows, I guess." His aunt looked at him. "An attraction to a crab is something I cannot identify with. However, it's fine with me if you keep him, as long as I can be assured he won't grow out of that bowl." She gave him a hard stare. "He won't," Michael answered. "I promise." The hermit crab moved into the condominium. Michael named him Sluggo and kept the bowl beside his bed. Michael had to watch the bowl for very long periods of time to catch Sluggo with his head poking out of his shell, moving around. Bedtime seemed to be Sluggo's liveliest part of the day, and Michael found it easy to lie and watch the busy crab as sleep slowly came on. One day, Michael arrived home to find Esther sitting on the edge of his bed, looking at the bowl. Esther usually did not intrude in Michael's room, and seeing her there disturbed him. But he stood at the doorway and said nothing. Esther seemed perfectly comfortable, although she looked over at him with a frown on her face. "I think he needs a companion," she said. "What?" Michael's eyebrows went up as his jaw dropped down. Esther sniffed. "I think Sluggo needs a girlfriend." She stood up. "Where is that pet store?" Michael took her. In the store was a huge tank full of hermit crabs. "Oh my!" Esther grabbed the rim of the tank and craned her neck over the side. "Look at them." Michael was looking more at his Aunt Esther than at the crabs. He couldn't believe it. "Oh, look at those shells. You say they grow out of them? We must stock up with several sizes. See the pink in that one? Michael, look. He's got his little head out." Esther was so dramatic, leaning into the tank, her bangled bracelets clanking, earrings swinging, red pumps clicking on the linoleum, that she attracted the attention of everyone in the store. Michael pretended not to know her well. He and Esther returned to the condominium with a 30-gallon tank and 20 hermit crabs. Michael figured he'd have a heart attack before he got the heavy tank into their living room. He figured he'd die, and Aunt Esther would inherit 21 crabs and funeral expenses. But he made it. Esther carried the box of crabs. Won't Sluggo be surprised? She asked happily. Oh, I do hope we'll be able to tell him apart from the rest. He's their founding father. Michael, in a stupor over his Aunt Esther and the phenomenon of 21 hermit crabs, wiped out the tank, arranged it with gravel and sticks, as well as the plastic scuba diver Aunt Esther insisted on buying, and assisted her in loading it up, one by one, with the new residents. The crabs were as overwhelmed as Michael. Not one showed its face. Before moving Sluggo from his bowl, Aunt Esther marked his shell with some red fingernail polish so she could distinguish him from the rest. Then she flopped down on the couch beside Michael. Oh, what would your mother think, Michael, if she could see this mess we've gotten ourselves into? She looked at Michael with a broad smile, but it quickly disappeared. The boy's eyes were full of pain. Oh my, she whispered. I'm sorry. Michael turned his head away. Aunt Esther, who had not embraced anyone in years, gently put her arm about his shoulders. I am so sorry, Michael. Oh, you must hate me. Michael sensed a familiar smell then. His mother's towel. He looked at his aunt. No, Aunt Esther, he shook his head solemnly. I don't hate you. Esther's mouth trembled, and her bangles clanked as she patted his arm. She took a deep, strong breath. Well, let's look in on our friend Sluggo, she said. They leaned their heads over the tank and found him. The crab, finished with the old home that no longer fit, was coming out of his shell.
Thanks again, guys, for listening to part 2 of Shells. I hope you have a great day.